Hello and welcome to Frame by Frame for the month of March. It's going to be a little bit of a different style of podcast than you're used to this month. As you're probably aware, the BAFTAs recently have been and gone, and all eyes is now on the Oscars. And so that's kind of going to be what our attention is on this episode, sort of doing predictions and a discussion of all things awards as there's a kind of an awards theme at Saffron Screen this month. Should be an interesting one. A lot of replays of older films, some new ones scattered in there, but a lot of chances to see some films that we're going to be talking about today that are nominated for a whole host of different awards. And as always, of course, I'm joined by my two lovely co-hosts, Riley and Emily.
Hello. I was just going to say it's a good opportunity to kind of, if some Oscar nominations have like passed you by, because I know that sometimes films will get shown and then they'll get nominated and I'll have missed them. So it's a really nice opportunity to see some films in the cinema that you might not have been able to see when they were out because they've just passed you by for whatever reason.
Hmm.
You can't always make it. And with some of these award contenders, they've been selling really well. Like
Mm.
Conclave was incredibly hard to see because everyone just wanted to see it. So, shall we kind of go down a few of these awards?
Yeah, let's get right into it. I think we've got a lot to talk about, so
Should we? So, we'll start with Best Actor.
I will be so honest with you, the only film that I have seen in this category is a complete unknown. So Timothy Chalamet, but personally, he is not my pick. I'm rooting for Conclave all the way, even though I still haven't seen it.
Big Ray Fiennes fan?
Yeah, well, so. I jump on the bandwagon of things that I know are being talked about quite a lot because, I mean, I've heard a lot of good things. I still haven't seen it. I don't know why. I will get around to it.
I have to confess, I have not seen it yet either. I'm booked in to see it early in March, which I had to book in like a month in advance because of how popular that film is. Personally, if you're rooting for Ray Fiennes, I think you're going to be disappointed. He's not won most of the major awards things, and in my opinion, this is a head-to-head race between Adrian Brody and Timothy Chalamet. Because Brody's kind of got the poignant, like touching performance. And then Timothy Chalamet has sort of the trendy performance because they love biopics and he's a young actor. He's the big star at the moment. And he's the youngest, he would be the youngest best actor winner if he won it.
Wasn't he the he just won the SAG award and he's the youngest lead actor in history to win the SAG award.
Yeah, he was. And so that's quite an interesting trend because we saw that Brody won at the BAFTAs and Brody's had better awards performances in most of the different awards ceremonies that have gone on. So, but it's interesting because the SAG Awards, and we'll come on to this later when we talk about Best Picture, but the industry kind of American industry awards, like the SAG Awards, like the Writers Guild Awards, these sorts of things, are very good predictors of what will win at the Oscars. So it's interesting that Chalamet has got that one, but my heart is with Adrian Brody. I really like his performance in The Brutalist. I think it's really touching and like Chalamet again, he has a clear thing he's going for. You can mark him up against Bob Dylan and how he sounds, which I think is a kind of a good touchstone of how good his performance is. And so a lot of people are going to be able to evaluate that in a more objective way, if you like. So I think he's kind of got that going for him.
I was gonna say I wouldn't be mad if Timothy Chalamet won, but I do feel like it's a clear-cut performance in that you can very much see how good he is. Like you don't have to I don't know how I'm trying to word this, but you notice how good he is because of how much he resembles Bob Dylan as opposed to the actual intricacies of his performance.
Yeah, it's not about emotionally delivering a story or the moment well. It's more about how much does he like Bob Dylan. But I was going to say, interesting on to back to your point about Timothy Chalamet being the youngest actor. Do you know the actor he would be taking the record for if he won? Or sorry, taking the record from if he won from Adrian Brody.
Oh, I
Oh,
did hear this. Oh my gosh,
Yes,
yeah.
he's actually interestingly Timothy Chalamet is 29. Adrian Brody also won the Best Actor Oscar when he was 29 for The Pianist, which by the way we have on again for World Piano Day, which we'll kind of get to later as well. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Like Adrian Brody can prevent himself being usurped as the youngest Best Actor. I mean, there'd only be a few months in it as well. It's not even that long. So that's a really interesting dynamic. These two, the front runners, and they've got this kind of unspoken kind of record-breaking competition going on between them, which I quite like.
I kind of agree with you. I think Adrian Brody's gonna get it. I do think like the top three are Ralph and Timothy and Adrian. Who I want to win, I want Common Domingo from Sing Sing to win because I watched it and it was just such a good film and it was such a feel good emotional piece and there's so many different aspects to it in terms of there's the joy of being this performer and performing in prison and community and getting that community together but then there's like there's loss, there's life afterwards. There's so many aspects to it, and I just thought he did it so well to show the different emotions and not over the top.
Hmm.
But I will not forget that film for a while.
No, I think that's less widely seen, that film, and so I think it's unlikely to win because of that. But everyone who has seen it, has very positive things to say about Common Domingo. I believe he was also nominated last year or a couple years ago as well, and he didn't win.
What was that for?
I'm not sure, honestly, but so I think he is kind of that actor he's reliably good. He can support a lead role in a film, but he's not necessarily picking the right films that are going to get him to win. Unfortunately, I think he hasn't quite found that yet.
Last year, I mean, Coleman Domingo is um he's on a back-to-back lead actor nomination. 2024 he earned a nomination for George C. Wolfe's Rustin, and then obviously Sing Sing this year. So um yeah, as you were saying, it will be upsetting to see him possibly lose both of those.
Yeah, it certainly will. Again, I think also he was sort of had stacked competition as well. Cillian Murphy was just honestly never going to beat. But the other interesting one here, we talked about this film on the podcast, The Apprentice. So
Mm.
Sebastian Stan is also nominated for playing Donald Trump in a biopic about Donald Trump. It'll be interesting to see if he's what. It was kind of interesting because there wasn't loads of shine for his performance from the critics at the time, but it has got nominated here. Um, Obviously, current events probably maybe affecting that decision to nominate him here. But I don't suspect he wins. There could be a push for it because of what's going on, but I think in most likely, I mean, Sebastian Stan's already talked about, I think like some actors roundtables, like they didn't really want to talk to him because they knew they'd have to talk about Trump and about
Yeah,
politics and things.
yeah.
So they kind of wanted to avoid it. So I think they kind of wanted to show their support by giving him the nomination, but I think in all likelihood, I think it's still Brody or Chalamet, I think, who are the real contenders.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would say
Mhm.
final prediction for me. I'm gonna go, the Oscars are about a story. They go Timothy Chalamet, youngest Best Actor winner.
I'm gonna say
I
Adrian
I
Brody.
agree with you.
Oh,
We should do a tally. Well, you could do a tally at the
Oh
end and,
yeah.
and see who's right at the next podcast. Who was the most right?
Oh, fun fact. When I was in college, we used to the 2 years that I was in sixth form college, we used to do an Oscar predictions quiz. I won both years.
oh.
Oh God, against some elite competition here. Damn, this might be rough. This might be rough.
Exactly. No, I'm changing my answer. Adrian Brody.
Oh, oh, we've got a last minute switch.
Changing my at the 11th hour.
So moving on to our next category, Best Actress. And then for this, I'll read out the nominations clearly so everyone has an idea. So we have Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Amelia Perez. We have Mikey Madison for Honora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. So what are the early thoughts? Who do you want to win?
I want Demi Moore to win. It's been a little bit of a kind of a seesaw, I guess. I think Demi has a couple of wins, and then you've got Carla Sofia Gascon for Amelia Perez. She's also sort of leading it, and then Mikey Madison has a couple as well for Honora. So it's and Fernando Torres as well. I think has one win. I'm not sure what for, as in um what ceremony, but um I think it's a close call. It would make my horror-loving heart very happy if Demi Moore won.
I agree. I think she's got a very good chance. Again, I think the Oscars really more than anything more than being a good actress or being good in the role. It's more about a story. What story can the Oscars tell about themselves and tell about the industry? For this, it's the fact that Demi Moore is kind of it's a comeback story. She's an older actress. It's kind of like, it's battling against the odds and maybe the standards of the industry, previously. I think they're going to want to perceive themselves in that way. I mean, a lot of people even thought Demi Moore was retired that like I talked to. So I think it would be really good if she does win. And it's similar, I think, to what Brendan Fraser, propelled him to victory a few years ago when a lot of people thought it was Austin Butler was the shoe-in to win. I think it might be a similar thing here with Demi Moore. And of course, I think Carla Sofia Gascon had a good chance. If the Oscars wanted to have, the first trans actress to win an Oscar, but I think given the recent
After all the
controversies,
controversy, I don't think it's happening.
I don't think it's happening. I think that pretty much handed it to Demi Moore, in my opinion. Although my hope, my pick, if I could choose, would be Mikey Madison, who I thought was wonderful in Anora. Really like tour de force performance that film rides on her shoulders. Seriously, I thought that was an incredible performance. I've liked her work in supporting roles that she's been in before, like in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I'm loving seeing her kind of get her proper big break right now because I've loved everything that she's done. She is so talented, and yeah, it's just so exciting to see her first nomination, and she's so like she's very much up there as a shoo-in to win.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely could because she won at the BAFTAs, which was kind of an upset. People didn't think that was going to happen. But then Demi Moore, I believe, won at the SAG Awards, the Actors Guild Awards, in the United States. So again, those are like pretty two ones like close to the Oscars that have gone either way. So I think, although I said it kind of makes Demi Moore a shoo-in, I mean, Mikey Madison could upset things.
Mm.
Don't know. But I think there's less of a story to tell with Mikey Madison, as much as I really like her performance. It's kind of just like good actress performs good role in good movie. Whereas Demi Moore, like we discussed, has the comeback and people have a familiarity with Demi Moore they don't have with Mikey Madison.
I honestly like this is the one of the categories that I've looked at, and I think anyone could win it. Like I think I agree with Emily. I think Demi would win possibly, but then I don't want to. I don't know. I can't say for certain. Like a little part of, well, a big part of me wants Cynthia Erivo to win because
Yeah, I'm very upset that she hasn't been more acclaimed this season. I think she did deserve at least one win.
Yeah, she's reliably nominated, but not really
mm,
winning. And interestingly, she would be one of the people to receive the EGOT if she did win the Oscar. That'd be quite another interesting. Again, we're talking about storylines. That would be an interesting one for them to pursue. But it just doesn't seem to have the kind of enthusiasm behind it, that nomination, unfortunately.
yeah, I think it is a really. I mean, obviously, all the categories have an amazing competition, but I do feel like this has a really good competition. Like anyone could win, and oof, yeah.
Yeah, Fernando Torres as well. I mean, that's kind of the dark horse, I think, there. But it's possible. But I think, again, I'm Still Here is a lot less widely seen, and I think will probably struggle. But you never know. Maybe it comes in there as sort of the sleeper no one sees coming.
I'd be happy with any of them. Well, not Carla Sofia Gascon, but any of the others I'd be happy with.
Yeah, I will say Carla Sofia Gascon, in my opinion, having seen Emilia Perez, I don't even think really gives a above par performance. Not that it's a bad performance, but I don't think it was really that notable to be in for Best Actress, and I think certainly now she won't win. So yeah, I'm locking in my pick as Demi Moore.
Demi
Me
Moore
too.
and Emily.
What do you think, Riley? What do you
I'm
think?
going to say Demi Moore as well.
Okay, three for
So we're
three.
unified on that, Demi Moore.
I just it yeah, it could be any of them, but I feel like Demi Moore makes the most sense, and I have heard so much like raving reviews of like people that have seen it and said that Demi has been absolutely stunning in it and given amazing performance. So yeah, we'll find out, but I think yeah, Demi Moore.
Moving on to our next category, we've got Best Supporting Actor. I apologize if I butchered his first name. But it's so we've got first up, we've got Yuri Borisov for Anora. We've got Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, which we have on at the end of the month, playing for the first time. We've got Edward Norton in A Complete Unknown. We have Guy Pearce in The Brutalist, and then Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice. Opening the floor to thoughts.
Kieran Culkin, that's all I have to say.
I was gonna say
Kieran Culkin.
yeah, I was gonna say Kieran Culkin because he won the BAFTA. And I think A Real Pain is a I haven't seen any of these, but I just feel like from what I've heard and what I've been seeing, A Real Pain has kind of snuck up on a lot of people.
Hmm.
And did you know Kieran Culkin is one of like 8 siblings, and obviously is
Macaulay Culkin's brother.
there we go. Sorry, I went completely blank. Obviously related. Yeah, so I had to get that in there, but I'm gonna say Kieran Culkin.
I saw A Real Pain and it is brilliant. It's so good. And Kieran Culkin, his performance is so real. It just immerses you so much. He kind of gives every audience member something to latch onto and to kind of see themselves in. It doesn't matter if you don't connect to the story. It's just the way that he is so understated with his performance, yet so doing so much at the same time. It's just the perfect amount, and he is so good, and he is 100% deserving of this.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make about subtlety as well, because with the Oscars, there's often a tendency to give the award to most acting or most editing or most whatever rather than best, you know. So if you've got someone who screams and shouts at their performance, it's like the odds that that gets nominated dramatically goes up because everyone notices the acting. But like you say, like it's interesting, not interesting, but it's good that an actor like that who's kind of more subtle and been able to balance it a little bit more is nominated here. I haven't seen A Real Pain. I plan to see it at the end of the month, but I've seen two of the other nominees, Yuri Borisov for Anora and then Guy Pearce for The Brutalist. I think both of them are fantastic in those roles, but Guy Pearce I thought was utterly convincing in The Brutalist. He's the one that I really want to win. I'm not sure if he's won an Oscar before, but obviously he's a guy with a lot of kind of skin in the game. He's been in there for a while. So I'd like to see him get it. He's really good as the sort of industrialist character in that. And it's a weird thing because it's like he's this kind of bad industrialist character who you can kind of, when he's bad, he can make you hate him. But also when he's putting up this facade, or maybe it's not a facade, but when he has his warmer moments and nicer moments, you can actually really warm to him as well. And he does both equally convincing. And his voice, his accent is like perfect for the role. He's like exactly the kind of way I would imagine that type of character if I read him in a novel. Yeah. So I thought he was really excellent. That's who I want to win. But I have to agree with Guy Pearce's own prediction for who will win Best Supporting Actor, which is Kieran Culkin. So he's winning all the awards. He's just an awards wrecking machine. So I can't really disagree with you two there.
So we're all going for Kieran Culkin again.
These predictions don't even count.
I was going to say that the best actor is the only one we've disagreed on so far. I know. What is this? Well, let's hope there's more divergence on this one. Best Supporting Actress. So for this, the nominees are Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande in Wicked, Felicity Jones in The Brutalist, Isabella Rossellini in Conclave, and then Zoe Saldana in Emilia Perez.
So unfortunately, I feel like it's going to be Zoe Saldana. And I say unfortunately because I don't want Emilia Perez to win anything.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that feel that way. But it is the most. We should say this is Emilia Perez is the most nominated film this year. It matches the Oscar nominations that Oppenheimer received, 13.
That is crazy because I didn't even, the first thing I heard about it, this is a little bit of a side note, was everyone sharing a clip of a song and laughing at it.
That's
And just
the
thinking, like,
first everyone heard of it.
yeah,
Yes,
that's
yeah.
what I don't understand. That like clip has put me off watching it. I want to watch it and I might watch it eventually because I'm curious, but
I mean, this film is also nominated for Best Original Song as well. So the songwriters who wrote that clip that you're referring to, everyone who knows the clip knows what we're talking about, um, are also Oscar nominated. Oscar nominated songwriters.
I think if it wins, it would just make me so angry that I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I unfortunately have already watched it.
Yeah.
But what I'll say is, I think it will be Zoe Saldana will win. She's a rewards wrecking machine. She keeps winning. Also, it's a bit of a cheat that she's in this category. An incredibly easy argument to say that she should have been the lead actress.
Yeah.
She's kind of the
I did
protagonist
wonder.
in the story because a lot of it is driven by her actions and her helping Emilia Perez, Carla Sofia Gascon's character,
Okay.
and a lot of it actually does focus on her agency. So it's sort of a fudge category that she is best supporting, but it has meant that again she has way more screen time and way more time to sort of show herself than a supporting actress usually gets. It's a fine enough performance. I mean, I think it's better than Carla Sofia Gascon's. Zoe Saldana, I like as an actress in other things. She's in two of the highest grossing films of all time, weirdly enough, as well, for an actress that you probably don't think of as like a big star, because
Yeah.
she was in Avengers Endgame and Avatar. So the two highest grossing films ever, which is a weird little fun fact. You would think Zoe Saldana must be a massive draw, if you just heard that statistic. But getting back to the nominations, I there's a lot of other good nominees, but I personally think Felicity Jones is a good choice.
I think
Obviously,
so as
there's the
well.
controversy that her accent when she's speaking Hungarian and the Brutalist is enhanced by AI, so that could affect things in terms of whether she could win. But I think it was a really good performance, very emotional, and especially since she is truly a supporting actress, and she only comes in after the interval in that film. The film's not even playing for like 2 hours, and she comes
Wow.
in and she's able to, really have that impact to get this nomination. So I'd like to see Felicity Jones win. Ariana Grande I saw in Wicked as well. I think that's fair, but it's more of a comic performance, so it's hard to compare. But I think Zoe Saldana will win it, but Felicity Jones is who I want to win.
I was just gonna say I know it's not gonna happen, but I would my personal pick is Monica Barbaro, who I thought completely matched Timothy Chalamet in A Complete Unknown. She is just again like really understated, but I think she kind of how I was saying how Timothy Chalamet's performance is more, in my opinion, focused on resembling Bob Dylan. I feel like Monica's is she kind of leans in a little bit more to the actual intricacies of um kind of like her emotional scenes with Timothy Chalamet. And she completely steals every scene that she's in. So I really enjoyed her performance. She was, I'll say, my favorite part of that film.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout actually. Yeah, because I have seen A Complete Unknown, and I didn't realize she was nominated until recently. And I was actually like, no, that's kind of a good pick actually. And like you say, I think she does act almost her character as a character. Obviously,
Yeah.
she's also playing a famous person, but it's a little bit different. Yeah, no, I agree. That's a good shout. That's a good shout actually.
I think it's again it's one of those categories. I think before I watched Wicked, I was like, why would you put Ariana Grande in there? I don't listen to her music, but I was like, that just doesn't in my head that doesn't match up. But then I started like reading into it and like the some of the interviews that were done with the director and the casting and everything, and they were saying like they brought Ariana Grande in and was expecting her to sing the way that she sings like on stage and things. Um, and then Ariana Grande was like, I don't know why I full named her there, sorry. Ariana was like, no, it's more like I feel like Emily might have said this in like I don't really know, but she gave it more of like an opera style. And she was like, "No, I feel like Glinda would sing like this." And then I was like, "Okay, this is going to be interesting." So I finally watched it the other day. I was impressed by Ariana Grande. I will admit I was not looking forward to seeing her in it. Not because I don't like her, just because I don't think it would have worked, but it did work. She did really, really well. Yeah, I do feel that she deserves the recognition and the of all the work that she put in and the life that she brought to Glinda and even like the ad libs that she added into the script that my friend was telling me about. And yes, the nomination. I don't think she's going to win. For Felicity Jones, I think everything I've seen her in, I always remember her in a good way for the performance she gives. Yeah, so I'm gonna say Felicity Jones as my
You think Felicity Jones is going to win?
yeah. I'm gonna go for it because
Oh,
I honestly
okay.
don't know.
So Zeldana is my pick to win. I want Jones to win, but Zeldana is my pick to win.
Okay.
Okay, we got some deviation there. That's nice.
I was just gonna say, yeah, because you mentioned about a lot of Ariana's performances improv. I feel like really she understands comedy very well.
Yes.
Mm.
Um, and in a way that I didn't realize before I saw the movie. And if you've seen, have any of you seen her on Saturday Night Live?
No, I
I
haven't.
think I've seen some clips, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's really funny on there. She went on there during the Wicked press. It's something that I hadn't really realized. Obviously, she was in Victorious, and I love Victorious, and she's
I would say
funny in that.
she's very
But
funny in that.
yeah, but she just knows comedic timing, and she's really good at kind of inflections in her voice. So if this was like a supporting actress in a comedy nomination, I think she'd be a shoo-in, but unfortunately, it's not.
No. I think the Golden Globes does make that distinction, the musical or comedy distinction, which isn't one I mean, maybe this is a debate for another day, but not a differentiation
Yeah,
that I like particularly much, especially as it
no.
pertains to Best Picture nominations. I think it's quite silly. But no, you're right. But I think she would be have a much better chance if it were deviated like that. So we've got two Zaldanas, one Jones as our
Hmm.
predictions
Yeah.
finally
I'm
for
gonna
Best Supporting
yeah,
Actress.
I'm gonna stick with it.
Stand your ground.
I'm gonna
Stand
stand
with
my ground.
Jones. All right. So moving on to our next category, getting a bit more filmmaky. We've been talking about the actors the whole time here, but we're going to talk about some people behind the camera this time, with Best Director. So again, I'm going to butcher some names, typically the French ones. So we've got Jacques Artois for Emilia Perez. We've got Sean Baker for Lenora. We've got Brady Corbett for The Brutalist. And we've got Carolee Fargo, I think is how you pronounce it, The Substance, and then James Mangold for A Complete Unknown.
Mm,
I don't have any predictions. I don't know.
Okay. I do have some feelings about what I think will win. So I have a feeling it will be. I think they won't give Best Director to Fargo, how do you pronounce it? Because I think it's a horror. I don't want that prominent a horror win unless it was really, really, really ahead in the races. I think they won't give it to a horror film. I think Emilia Perez, the controversy surrounding that, the director's sort of not backed but still supported Gascon in ways, shouted her out when he won an award somewhere else. I think again probably won't win. It's too much, almost like giving it a Best Picture win as well. So I
Yeah.
think he's probably off the table. He may have been actually a very strong contender, I think, before. I think, personally, James Mangold, I think, is fine as a director in Complete Unknown. I like some of his previous work. I also don't like some of his previous work. The Complete Unknown, I think he's completely serviceable. I think it's a weird nomination that he's actually here. But he could get it for a logic, the same sort of logic that I'm gonna pick Sean Baker to win. Because I think Sean Baker he's a director that this is his first time, I think, being nominated at the Academy Awards, I think for actually anything. And he is a guy, he's really well known in the American indie scene. He has his very much his own style and flair. He's a distinctive director. You kind of know when you're watching a Sean Baker movie from the way he directs and from the way he writes. And so I think he's got that distinctiveness that you can kind of go, yeah, we are very much not just giving this to the film, we're giving this to Sean Baker. And Sean Baker, he's put in the work. He's a guy who has that reputation, but has never got the nominations. A bit like Christopher Nolan the other year. He finally won after not having won Best Director for a while, or never having won Best Director. I think we could see a similar thing with Sean Baker here, sort of saying, "Hey, you're an art house legend, and you've kind of finally made a film that's kind of like mainstream enough that we can kind of put it in for these major award categories." And so that's what I think will win, and I'd be happy if that does happen. But I actually preferred Brady Colbert's direction in The Brutalist. I thought the way he handled the actors, especially, and kind of he knew when to be simple and when to be artistic. I think also he took a few more risks than Sean Baker does in Anora. But I think both are tremendously well directed movies. But Brady Colbert's who I want to win, or Colbert, sorry, is who I want to win. But I think Sean Baker's in with a good shout, especially since I think he just won at the DGA.
Oh, really?
So he's the favorite director of the directors. But I don't know if you guys have any.
Do we know what the current slate is for directors, as in who won at the BAFTAs?
Brady Corbett. No?
Yes, yeah.
I think he
I
won.
believe it was Brady Corbett for
Yes. Denis Villeneuve was nominated for Dune Part 2 as well at the
Did you just
BAFTAs.
call him Dennis? Denis. He's
I'm so
Denis
sorry. I'm
Villeneuve.
so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Outrageous. Put respect on this man's name. I mean, that's the guy I actually want to win, by the way. I mean, Dune Part 2, I think, has been snubbed in so many categories. Denis Villeneuve should have been nominated. I mean, Josh Brolin literally made a joke saying if he's not nominated for Dune Part 2, I'm going to retire from acting. And then he actually wasn't nominated. So Josh Brolin had to make a video about that. So I was quite upset when I read that. I was like, what is going on? But to be fair, I think Brady Corbett's Corbett he's a good director as well in this. But I think Sean Baker wins, and to be honest, I like Sean Baker and I like some of his previous movies, so I'd be happy to see him win. Though James Mangold, again, he's a guy he had a indie background, now has started to be more of like a mainstream studio reliable hand for them, and so they may choose to reward that. He's done Indiana Jones and he's done Logan and these big movies, and he's been quite a reliable hand for big studios. So
Both of you, Sean Baker?
No, I'm gonna say Brady Corbett.
Okay, I'm gonna say Brady Corbett as well.
it's always 2-1, isn't it? There's never a three-way split. And before we get on to Best Picture, while we're on sort of the, who is behind the camera, I wondered if you guys just had any films, any awards that you kind of wanted to highlight for those kind of behind the scene roles, the cinematographers, the editors, the sound designers. Is there any films you wanted to sort of highlight?
I would like to talk about Dune Part 2 for cinematography
I appreciate this.
because absolutely beautiful. And although I do have my reservations about who I believe should have been nominated for cinematography, three guesses what film?
Challenges.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
I think that, and I really do hope Dune Part 2 wins for cinematography because it is a beautiful film. It immerses you so much, obviously, obviously in the same way that the first one does. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous, and I would really like to see it win.
I agree with you. I mean, I love the film in general. Greg Fraser is quickly becoming one of my favorite cinematographers as of late. I mean, I loved his work in the first film, and I loved his work in The Batman, which honestly, I actually preferred how The Batman looked to what he actually, because he won it before. He won it for Dune Part 1. I actually preferred his work in The Batman personally, but his work in Dune Part 1 was also fantastic. That's one of the reasons why I think he's unlikely to win it again for a sequel. But I think honestly, it probably will go to The Brutalist. But Nosferatu as well is a gorgeous film, which I'd kind of like to see get more
Absolutely
attention as
gorgeous.
well. But I think it will be The Brutalist because it's the one picking up the other awards for other things as well. But I think you're right to highlight June Part 2. I mean, it's always good to highlight June Part 2 because it's an amazing film and really the best film this year, but whatever.
And I mean, the way, and you mentioned Nosferatu, the way that um Nosferatu shoots its darkest scenes is kind of unlike anything that we've seen this year. It's so kind of, that shot of Thomas, is it Thomas?
Yeah, Thomas Hutter.
yeah, he's walking through the forest, um, and it's just beautiful. It's so visually stunning, and they do so much with kind of the lighting because obviously the connection to like him melting in the sunlight. They
Yes.
do so much with kind of what they have with it having to be dark for most of Nosferatu's scenes. Um so yeah,
It definitely deserves a shout out. And it's so the director that Robert Eggers, the director of that film, he's worked with him for quite a while. The cinematographer for that film does a shout out by name as well. So it's a Yaron Blashki, I believe, who's actually an American uh, cinematographer. You might think otherwise by the name, but yeah, deserves a shout out because a lot of these behind the scenes roles, besides director, often don't get looked at. So I think it's important to highlight something like that. Okay, so now that we've gone through all the other awards that we tapped all the places I think that are interesting. We're gonna be talking about the big one, the award
the one
category.
everyone cares about.
Exactly. Everyone has an opinion on the one with the most nominations, the most different films included in it. We are talking about Best Picture. So the nominees are Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked.
Hmm. I'm just gonna get mine out of the way quickly. These are the ones I would like them to win. There's a few of them, so I think June Part 2, Nickel Boys, The Substance, or Wicked. The one I think is gonna win, it's probably The Brutalist or Conclave.
Oh, okay. I think we
Um,
might have some divergence here then.
oh,
Emily, do you wanna jump in?
Yeah, so I mean, the ones I would be happy with winning is possibly Anora, Nickel Boys, The Substance, Wicked, and then they kind of cross over because I would like Conclave to win, but I also do think it will win, possibly. And then I kind of Amelia Perez is a possible win.
Maybe. I think I would steer away from Millie Perez. Until some certain facts sort of change, my view on it was that it was a three-way race between The Brutalist, Amelia Perez, and Wicked, actually, although
Really?
Wicked a little bit more of an outside
Oh,
chance. My logic with Wicked was that it was an acclaimed film that was quite popular and
popular.
that then the Oscars can sort of buy back a little bit of their credibility with people because they're like, oh,
Mm.
I like Wicked. Wicked won Best Picture, and I actually saw that this year. And also, even though June Part 2 was also very popular, they definitely won't be picking that. There's just not the
And
enthusiasm
there's
for it.
no resentment in your voice
No,
whatsoever right
there's
now.
not. And I guess you guys also don't know what my pick is for what the film I want to win is. It's June Part 2.
The Brutalist.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna guess and put
Yeah,
that out there.
exactly. I want June Part 2 to win, but I think there's just not got the enthusiasm for it. Wicked's got a little bit
Yeah.
more push behind it, but I don't think it will win. But with the facts changing more recently, I think, yeah, Amelia Perez has dropped out of that race, I think, because of the controversy. Again, the actress in question with the controversy is the name of the movie. I think it's hard to separate those two. I think they won't put that up and kind of parade that as the big winner. The Brutalist, I still think is in with a chance because it's a really poignant film. But one I didn't consider until recently was Anora. I didn't think it was going to be the one to win, but it has a very, very interesting stat which makes it statistically likely and is now the bookies' favorite to win. So the odds makers has
Really?
Nora's favorite to win because of this fun fact for you. So we mentioned earlier it won at the DGA Awards, the Directors Guild of America Awards. So when all the directors pick their favorite film, or their favorite director even, it won. But it also won at the WGA, the Writers Guild of America, and it also won at the Producers Guild of America as well. Now, the interesting stat with that, obviously, these are people in the industry, the American industry specifically, so they basically all will be voting in the Academy Awards. But the other thing is that there's an interesting stat, which is every film that has managed to pick up those three awards has then gone on to win Best Picture, besides one film, which was Brokeback Mountain in 2006, where in a big upset it lost to Crash.
You've sold
Wow.
me. Like,
Okay.
wow.
Logically, I would not have thought Anora, and it's got a little bit more momentum behind it as well because it picked up the BAFTA win with Mikey Madison. So maybe it's in a bit more of the headlines. So I I want June Part 2 to win. I actually my second pick would be The Brutalist. Like that's the second film I want to win the most. My third probably actually would be Anora, and then that I think based on that stat, even though my brain kind of says it shouldn't be, or my heart says it shouldn't be, because I wouldn't have thought that. Um, I think with that stat in mind, I'm gonna say Anora.
Yeah, you've convinced me because I like logically, I feel like that it has to be with those stats, but it
But
wasn't.
again, there is the Brokeback Mountain
There is.
example.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my guns and I'm gonna say Conclave.
Conclave.
Oh,
And
Okay.
I'm gonna be proved wrong, but if not, you can like pay me money or something.
Yeah, well, let's see.
I'm gonna be controversial and say so. Emily, you're going with Conclave.
Yes.
I'm gonna be controversial and go with Wicked.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. In for a penny, in for a pound.
Why not? Zach and Aura?
yeah. I think Anora. I'm teetering between Anora and the Brutalist, but I think I'm going to lock in Anora as the sort of maybe not Dark Horse pick anymore. Is the statistical favorite. I think it's quite funny that we've diverged the most on Best Picture.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I don't know. It could be a lot of people's game.
Mm.
Yeah.
In previous years, especially recently, it's been very clear cut for me who I think it's gonna be, but I don't have any clue this year.
No, I think it's people have been talking about it a lot that this Oscar season is far more open than it usually is, and especially with the Emilia Perez controversy, I think that's opened it up even more. Yeah, because again, it's like especially compared to the last Oscars where it was just Oppenheimer, Oppenheimer, Oppenheimer. You knew what was going to win the big stuff. It's kind of nice almost, even though I loved just having a film like Oppenheimer around. It's kind of nice that it's a little bit more competitive and you really don't know what's going to win. It makes for a more interesting sort of Oscars season. But yeah, and again, Conclave was the BAFTA winner, so it would be interesting to see if it can get it on both sides of the pond, the award. I mean, that's certainly been a favorite with the Saffron Screen audience, I have to say. So I'm sure they'll be pleased if it does win that or a complete unknown, which would none of us have really considered as a potential winner, but it is nominated. And those two films were very popular with the Saffron Screen audience, so much so that we are bringing them back in March. So
I mean, we've got some which are kind of like programmed in. So we've got a complete unknown for sure. So beginning of March, we've got a complete unknown for sure. But that's on twice, three times. We've got Conclave on twice. We've got one at the beginning of March and one kind of towards the end of March. And then also kind of the last weekend of March, um, we have some scheduled in, but then we've got a lot of on the program. It's just Oscar winners to be confirmed. So we're going to do our best to bring back a couple of the Oscar winners. Whether that I don't know what category that's going to be for. It might not. We might not be able to get them. So it might be nominees that were done really well for us in the past. We will see. But there are slots, and they are waiting to be filled up after this weekend with the Oscars. So. We literally don't know what we're screening at the end of March.
I think it'll be fun if something like a Nora does win because that's not something we put on. Or the substance even. I think that would be fun.
Yeah,
Something a little bit different for what we usually put on at Saffron Screen. I think it'd be nice to offer that people that variety. And if people were encouraged to come out, if these films do win Oscars, I would be quite happy to see that.
correction. We have Conclave on three times, which is like the beginning, middle, and the end of March. Which I think still book early because it's done so well for us in the past that people can get tickets. So
We do have a few other films showing though that aren't Oscar things, if you're tired about the awards buzz and you kind of want to see something that people haven't been talking about for months, we've got a couple new films. We've got The Last Showgirl with Gillian Anderson and Jamie Lee
Yeah.
Curtis. Sorry, not Gillian Anderson, Pamela Anderson. And we've also got Hard Truths on One Time as well. That's the new Mike Leigh film. Did have a BAFTA nomination for Best Actress, didn't win though, but I've heard great things. But otherwise, we've got a lot of arts on screen. And
We've got a lot of arts on screen. I am going to point out just because I'm so excited for it. We've got Hans Zimmer and Friends Diamond in the Desert, which is like a live recording of one of Hans Zimmer's live shows from Abu Dhabi or Dubai. It's a recording of one of his shows, and it's got like interviews from different people that he's worked with, different actors that he's kind of worked on the scores for their films. And I am a sucker for his scores, so I'm very much considering going to both screenings, even though it's like going to be exactly the same thing.
it looks great though. And go support old Hans Zimmer. He didn't get nominated for Best Original Score. They disqualified him because they said it wasn't original enough. They said it was too much Dune Part One in there.
Oh, it's just it's very moving, I find, for me personally anyway. But it's we've got it on twice. We've got it on in March and in April. Um, and there's tickets still left. It needs to be watched in the cinema because of the sound. And we've got, industry standard sound. We've got Dolby 5.1, I believe. Um, so that is the only way to listen to Hans Zimmer's music other than live.
And I believe there are also interviews and talks within that as well, I think, isn't
Yeah,
there?
I mean, there's Billie Eilish, there's Pharrell Williams,
I think Christopher Nolan, I think, drops in,
Nolan,
doesn't
yeah,
he?
yeah. I
So
just think it's going to be really interesting, and I know people have come specifically to the cinema to watch like the Dune films, to be able to experience it in that setting because of Hans Zimmer's work. So, but yeah, that's just what I'm excited about. But there are more. So we've got Six the Musical, which is coming out. We've got lots of Royal Ballet and operas. So we've got Romeo and Juliet, we've got Turandot, we've got I think going into June, I think we've got some as far as that for Royal Ballet and Opera, National Theatre Live. We've got another Macbeth on with David Tennant. Yeah, lots of arts on screen. And then obviously you mentioned earlier The Pianist, as part of World Piano Day with we're kind of like working with Saffron Hall because they've got their events.
and I do want to just mention perhaps the most exciting thing coming to the cinema, and it's not a film. It's the Watchword subtitling glasses. We've mentioned on the podcast previously. We were able to raise enough money thanks to all of you guys. So we now have them. I have tested them out myself. They're very cool. So they should be coming. I think in the later half of March, our films should actually be working with it. We've got four of them at the moment, but prior to their use in the films, we have a couple kind of training sessions, if you like, which are open to the public. So these are kind of sessions where you can come in and kind of learn how they work and kind of view subtitles. I think the idea is on a kind of a few different sort of example things and kind of get used to them if you think you're someone who might come often and use these. And you don't need to worry. These are absolutely free. You don't need to pay to come to one of these sessions. And it's we've got four of the glasses, and we've got a maximum of I think 35 people per session. That is first come first served on kind of basis. So make sure to book now if that's something you think you're going to be interested in. Again, this is some really cool tech, and I think it's going to be now you're going to be able to, if you did need subtitles before, you're not going to be restricted to that one subtitled film a month that we do. You're now going to have, I think the majority of our films hopefully should be with these subtitles. Again, that's something as well on the website in future. It will be indicated, the films are watchword glasses friendly. I hope you join us for those training sessions if that's something you're interested to. I think it's on the 2nd of March and on the 9th of March. They're both sort of morning slots. So yeah, and again, we're one of the first cinemas in the country to actually have this. So it's a really cool thing to be part of. And genuinely, it's like literally one of the most exciting changes at Saffron Screen recently. So
I am so excited because it's just like yes to accessibility. We need more of it. But yeah, I think it's just so exciting, and I really hope that the glasses, although they're expensive, I do hope, no pun intended, I hope they are more accessible to more cinemas to then be able to offer to everyone who needs them.
So yeah, I hope you're excited for all the different things going on at the cinema as much as we are. The glasses, the Oscar films, all of it. We should be back to our normal format next month, talking about the upcoming films. Although there will be, of course, a little bit of a twist because we will be going through the receipts on the Oscar predictions and seeing who's the big winner. So you have that to look forward to next month as well. But other than that, I think we've covered everything we wanted to, and I hope you enjoyed listening today, and you do indeed enjoy the Oscars if you choose to stay up and watch.
Yeah, if you're staying up to watch the Oscars, make sure you got your popcorn and your blankets and get cozy, and then probably like chuck the popcorn across the room when someone wins that you didn't win.
Good vibes only. Good vibes only.
See you next month.
See you next month.
Yes, thank you for listening.